Hey everybody, welcome back to Red Mug Music. I'm Brian, and today's going to be part 2 of the ranking of Kiss's studio albums, the 80s. Last week we went over all of the 70s, and I'll recap those for you in case you missed it. And you should also check back and watch that video first before you watch this one. But spoiler alert, I'm going to run through the albums real quick. To review. Number 11, it was Peter Criss. Number 10 was Gene Simmons. Really? Number 9 was Paul Stanley. Number 8, Hotter Than Hell, which would have ranked, like I said last week, much higher if the drums just sounded better. The quality on the album was just not good. Number 7, Ace Frehley's solo album. Number 6, Love Gun. Number 5, Dynasty. Number 4, Rock and Roll Over. Number 3, Dressed to Kill, which was a shock to me. I figured it would be lower. Number 2 is Kiss debut album, and number 1, Destroyer. Now, throughout the week, I got a present for my wife, and I did like an unboxing. And it didn't really work out because my camera wouldn't really focus on it. But anyway, I got Kiss World, the Greatest Hits album, which is pretty sweet. I'm going to start ramping up my Kiss collection, my Kiss record collection. Now, just to let you see it in case you don't have it, that's what the inside looks like. Got an old picture of them from the 70s, and then all the songs that they put on there, which it's a 2-record album. And I don't know if you noticed before. Let me try to get that glare off of it. There we go. It's got Tommy and Eric, and then Gene and Paul. This Gene makeup configuration is not my favorite. I don't know if you can see it that well, but I don't like how it goes real up close to his eye, and then you got those little bitty spikes. I'd rather have a bigger spike and that black part go down a little further. And it seems like whenever you see him in concert right now, any kind of footage, if you subscribe to them online at all, that's the same configuration he's continued to use, and is absolutely not my favorite. This is what my favorite looks like. But anyway, here's the back of it. It's got a picture. It looks like dang, sorry about the glare. It's got a picture of the Kiss Alive 1 photo, and it's got a lot of great songs. It starts with Crazy Crazy Nights, that album is actually going to be part of the ranking today, so stay tuned, find out where that falls. But it's got songs like Rock and Roll All Night, I Was Made for Loving You, Detroit Rock City, Beth, Lick It Up, Heaven's on Fire, Tears Are Falling, Unholy, let's see, Calling Dr. Love, one of my favorites, Love Gun, Shandy, that's on today's records as well. I'm a Legend Tonight, that's from Killers, Modern Day Delilah, and Hell or Hallelujah. But anyway, but the thing that I hated, well, I didn't hate it, but darn it, the sleeves here are just white. They don't have like lyrics or anything like that. I remember getting these when I was young and freaking loved them. But anyway, there's my record. Actually, that's not the beginning of my record collection. I actually have this old one that I should have shown last week, but I couldn't find it. This is the old Creatures of the Night. It's cool. Actually, no sleeve at all, just a record. So this is actually the first album in my Kiss collection, and now I've got Kiss World, and I've got a few others on the way. So anyway, let's start with this ranking. My buddy from high school, Charles Eaton. Hey Charles. He warned me that this was going to be difficult. All the 80s albums is really just a mess. And I kind of figured it would be, but once I started ranking the albums, I noticed they're all kind of ranking close together. And there were a few that I'm kind of like, I don't know if that's going to go well, being that high or that low, but it is what it is. It's what I came up with. But to start out, number 8, Hot in the Shade was actually what I consider the worst album they put out in the 80s. Now, I know there's The Elder, there's Unmasked, but Hot in the Shade has got 15 songs on it. It's really long, and the songs are kind of mediocre. It's just not really great. Now, of course, there are some really good songs on there, like Hide Your Heart, Forever, Rise to It. I mean, it's got good stuff. I just thought all the other records were better. This one has a configuration of Gene, Paul, Bruce, and Eric. So it's a good album, and it's the only album that Eric Carr sings on, which I'm not a fan of that song, but of course I listened to it. You know, God rest his soul. Um, just a tremendous shame that we've lost him. But anyway, but also another fun fact about this album is Tommy Thayer actually co-wrote and played guitar on two of the songs. So we actually have two particular guitarists on this record. Now, again, that's going to be a jumbled mess too on who played on what record, and even Gene Simmons doesn't even play bass on every song, and I'm not really going to cover that because I just don't have time. Maybe I'll eventually go album by album and go through those and just really break them down and talk about what happened. But for the most part, um, it is a jumbled mess. So Charles, you're right, it's a mess. So number 8, Hot in the Shade. Number 7, The Elder, or the music from The Elder. Now, I thought this album was terrible, and when you listen to it, it's Paul, Gene, Ace, and Eric Carr. They got songs like World Without Heroes, The Oath. Um, but this album pretty much alienated like all of Kiss's fan base. Like they just hung it up, said, "We're done. This is crap. You guys are terrible." And I don't blame them because this was not the Kiss that everyone was used to. I mean, they did have, I don't know, they did have Unmasked, you know, a year prior, which was extremely poppy, and it probably alienated a lot of people too. But this one definitely did. No, there was supposed to be a movie that to go along with this, and this was the Elder, the music from the Elder, and that's why it's called Music from the Elder. Was supposed to be the soundtrack of that movie, but it just did so poor. They just abandoned all of it and said, "Okay, what's next?" The Elder is actually the last album that Ace played on because he just didn't agree with the direction Kiss was going into, and you know, of course, he just wanted to be harder, you know, just stay with the hard rock and the metal, and they're like doing classical weirdness. So he's like, I'm gone. Um, but anyway, there's some really nice gems on this album. I mean, there's some really good stuff. If you just kind of set aside the fact that this is not a, you know, all out hard rock album and just listen to the quality of what they did and the singing, it's really good. It's really good. There's some stuff you need to get through or get past to get to the good stuff. But The Elder is actually a good album. I've learned to really enjoy it, and I listen to it quite a bit, and I actually listen to it more than I do Hot in the Shade. So anyway, number 7, The Elder. All right, here's another one that I would like to do, just a video on the record all by itself, just because I'm not a fan of, and seems like with all my research, I am getting mixed reviews, but for the most part, Lick It Up is a very popular album. Now, this came out in 1983 and had Gene, Paul, Eric Carr, and Vinny, and this is the first time we got to see Kiss without makeup. They worked this up so heavy. I mean, I was so excited about seeing the video Lick It Up and what these guys look like, and it's just been, you know, a decade or almost a decade of, you know, having no idea. And then the video comes on, and you know they're walking down the street of some kind of a apocalyptic type, you know, scenario, and they're, I don't know, it wasn't great. And these guys, I kind of wish they would have kept their makeup on because it was exciting to see it, and the workup was pretty cool. This is not Vinnie Vincent's first album. He actually played on Creatures, but he was, you know, he's in the video. He's actually featured on the album. And the album's coming at number 6, which, you know, this is just the 80s. I don't like Vinnie Vincent's style of playing a guitar. I think it's too chaotic. It's too busy. I feel like he's trying too hard. And And you know, he didn't even play, like when you put the album on and the first song Exciter plays, it's not even him. They had a different guy play that part. So he's not even, he doesn't even play all the songs. So I don't know. But I know he and Vinnie Vincent and the rest of the band had a lot of differences. There were contractual problems that he wouldn't sign a contract. He would play his solos way too long and just really upset everybody, and they would go backstage and fight about it. And I don't know. He's probably my least favorite guitarist that they had in total. But anyway, number 6, Lick It Up. Number 5 is Unmasked. Now, Unmasked came out in 1980. And that one had Gene, Paul, Peter, and Ace. They're the ones that are featured on the album, but Peter didn't play at all, at least as far as I know. He didn't play anything on there. Again, it was Anton Fig that played all that, and Ace didn't even play every song. Paul played lead on several of them and actually played solos on a few of them as well. But it's got songs like Shandy, Talk to Me, Tomorrow. It's it's a really good album. If you're okay with the fact that Kiss is doing like a pop thing, you'll realize that it's a really good album. I listen to this all the time. I think it's a really good album. Um, anyway, so Unmasked, number 5. All right, number 4 is Asylum. That one came out in 1985, and this one has Gene, Paul, Eric Carr, and Bruce Kulick. Now, they have songs on this album like Tears Are Falling. Well, that's pretty much the main one on there. And it's just a good sounding Kiss album. Um, to be honest, besides Ace, I'm going to say that Bruce was my favorite Kiss guitarist. He has a really nice, clean sound. I like his distortion. I like the way he plays. He was a great addition to Kiss. And I'm not saying I don't like Tommy, but I definitely would have liked to see Bruce have, stayed with the band because definitely my favorite guitars. I mean, I'm really going to say Ace is my favorite guitarist, but besides Ace, I think Bruce is pretty much a best guitarist, or the best one, the one that I like the most. Maybe Vinnie Vincent was better. I don't know, but again, a guy is chaotic. I just watched somebody review a solo that he did, and it was like he was just so angsty. This was on stage in a concert. He just seemed so angsty and just pissed off, and it's like they said it seems like he's trying to play all the notes at one time and is getting upset because he can't. So I don't know, you just got to have fun. I mean, think about Eddie Van Halen. You watch him play guitar, I mean, that guy is having a ball, and he is amazing, and he's patient, and he's definitely my favorite guitarist ever to live, Eddie Van Halen. And actually, that may be a little bit of a spoiler alert on what I'm going to do after the Kiss series. But anyway, um, Asylum is a good album through and through. It's again, it's Bruce, so I really like Bruce. It's got a lot of really good, solid songs on it. I didn't listen to it at first when it first came out because I really wasn't paying attention to Kiss at that time. But now that I go back and listen to it, it's one of my favorites. I really like it. All right, so now number 3. Now, I don't know how this one's going to go. I don't know if anyone's even going to agree with me or not. But number 3 is Crazy Nights. Crazy Nights has Gene, Paul, Bruce, and Eric Carr again. And this is when I started paying attention to Kiss again. So right after Asylum is when I started listening to them again. Crazy Crazy Nights came out. I really liked it. I remember buying the album or buying the CD. Listen to it and listen to it and listen to it. And I'm kind of afraid that maybe me just being extremely familiar with the album makes me rank it higher, because I think familiarity with songs can help. Because sometimes you ever listen to an album and don't like it. I think I mentioned that once before, and then you listen to it again, it's like, eh. But then you get used to it and you start understanding the lyrics, or you start knowing how to sing to it or what to expect, and then you start paying attention to other things you didn't at first. Well, that can help you like an album. If you don't like an album and everybody else does, listened to it several times. But this album had Crazy Crazy Nights, had Reason to Live, Turn on the Night. I like Gene Simmons' efforts on this album. I think they're really good, like No, No, No. I love this album. Now, this album, a lot of Kiss fans don't like it because there's keyboards. Now, that makes no sense to me. I mean, I understand that that's something, in the past, Kiss has always been pretty heavy, except for Unmasked and The Elder. And people just want rock, which keyboards doesn't take away from that whatsoever. Can anybody say 1984 by Van Halen? That's one of the best rock albums of all time, and it starts with a keyboard only. And then you have Jump, which what is that? Keyboard. So if you like Van Halen and you're okay with the keyboards there, then I don't see why anyone would have any trouble with this album. I like it. I think it's amazing. But anyway, I put Crazy Nights at number 3. Actually, going back to that album, I remember when I was in college, I actually sold that CD, for money because, when you're in college, you're broke, right? Got to eat. So I was like, well, Kiss or food? Kiss or food? Kiss. I'm going with Kiss. Nah, food. Food. Okay, I'll sell it. I want to eat. I'm hungry. So anyway, Crazy Nights, number 3. Number 2. Again, this is one that I don't know if anyone's going to agree with me or not, but I put Animalize at number 2. This album freaking rocks. It's a really, really, really good album. It came out in 1984. It's got Gene, Paul, Eric Carr, and replacing Vinnie Vincent was Mark St. John. Bruce even played on a couple of songs before he was even in the band, so he played on the album too. But this album has Heaven's on Fire and Thrills in the Night. And again, I think Gene had a really strong showing on this album. I love Burn Bitch Burn. Burn Bitch Burn. It is an amazing rock and roll song. Just put it on, turn it up. You can't tell me you don't like it. It doesn't sound amazing. Lonely as the Hunter, another Gene Simmons song on here that oh my gosh. And Murder in High Hills. This is a really good song. Don't forget, Gene Simmons is my favorite Kiss member. So when he has a strong showing, I'm going to like the album. I know now if you read anything about Animalize, it's going to say that he really wasn't part of the recording process, or he was absent a lot because he was working on his acting career. Didn't bother me at all. If you listen to the album, you would never know that. You wouldn't be like, ooh, where's Gene here? He's in there and he's doing good. So this is a really, really good album. I listen to it all the time. I think next to, well, the next album, it's one of the hardest rock albums that they have. Anyway, I can just boast about Animalize all day. It's a great album. So I put it at number 2. Okay, number 1. Number 1. Actually, Animalize and this album actually came very close to each other in my ranking. But I ended up putting Creatures of the Night number 1 because it is so good. What bothers me about it is it's freaking Vinnie Vincent playing on there, even though it's got Ace on the front. Actually, number 1, Creatures of the Night, didn't play. Weird thing. They went back, Kiss went back, and they reissued the album without makeup with Bruce Kulick on it. They did it when Bruce was in the band, so that makes no sense at all. So this is a very confusing album when it comes to musicians. Gene, Paul, Eric, and Ace are featured, but Vinnie Vincent played on it. Actually, there were about 4 lead guitars to play on this album, and Vinnie he had the most songs. And this is the album that came out right before Lick It Up. And that's when you really saw that he was part of the band, even though he didn't sign a contract to be part of the band. So this album has I Love It Loud. It's got Killer. It's got Creatures of the Night, which is a really good song. Like, they'll start concerts with Creatures of the Night, and it is the best song to start with. Next to Detroit Rock City. Those two together are really good. This is just a pure, straight up rock album. You can't get much better than this. But I will say, War Machine, I would like War Machine so much better if they didn't have that weird effects on Gene's voice. I don't know what it is. I was wanting to look into it. If anybody knows what they did to his voice, comment down below. Let me know. I would love to know what kind of effects that they put on that, put on his voice, because I think it absolutely ruined it. So I don't listen to War Machine, even though it's a good song, because his underwater, whatever, distorted. I don't even know. I don't even know how to describe it. I think it's pretty terrible. I think a lot of people like it because that's one of the biggest songs on the album. But great album. So again, Creatures of the Night, #1. Listen to it. It's great. So that was it. That concludes my Kiss '80s studio album ranking. So you're going to have to come back next week for part 3 of the Kiss studio ranking series that I've got going on right now. But anyway, so guys, thanks for hanging out with me today. Please like my video, subscribe to the channel. That'll help support me the most. If you would subscribe, please do that. Also, follow me on my Instagram page, Red Mug Music. There I do album reviews. That's where I like to do those. And I'll post my playlist for my reconstructed albums, which I probably need to do one soon. It's been a while. And we just talk music over there. So jump over there and check it out. And again, thanks for hanging out with me today, and I will see you next week.